Welcome to Los Angeles State Technical College, summer 2014, ARC 160, Computer for Designers. We're going to have 5 different videos today to go over the second project, how to learn 3D Studio. So we're going to start with the first one, which is the interface, customize the units, move commands, draw cubes, cylinders, and spheres, and divide them into parts, and actually how to import your drawing from AutoCAD. And we have with us Professor Jose Negrete, who's an expert in 3D Studio. Thank you.
Okay, so like Marcela mentioned, first thing we're going to cover is the customize units. So here we're going to click on customize at the top, then select unit setup. And once unit setup window is open, the first thing we're going to do is click on system unit setup. And we're going to make sure that this is set to inches, which is the default units we want to use most of the time. Once we close that, we're going to make sure that we have US standard enabled, and this can be your preference here. We can have decimal inches or feet with decimal inches. And then immediately below that, you have default input units. So this can be set to feet or inches. Now what this means is if you enter a value of 1 and hit enter, if it's going to be set to feet, that's going to mean that your 1 will be 1 foot. And if it's set to inches, it'll be 1 inch. So here I prefer to have it set to inches. Next, under the main toolbar, which is this guy here, the tools we'll most often use is select objects, select by name, which lets you select your objects based on their name. So if we had objects in the scene here, you would see them listed, and then you can select them by name and hit OK. Next we have select and move, select and rotate, and select and scale. Further to the right, we have the material editor tool. Okay. And then in the far right, we have the command panel. So in the command panel, we'll mainly use the first 2 tabs. The first one being the create tab. With the create tab enabled, we see the subcategories, which are geometry, shapes, lights, cameras, helpers, space warps, and systems. The ones mainly used will be geometry and shapes. So if we go back to the geometry tab, you'll notice that by default it's set to standard primitives. And under standard primitives, we have box, cylinder, sphere, torus, etc. So to create any of these objects, we can highlight the tool name and then click and drag anywhere in the viewport. So in the case of the box, we're going to specify a length and width, eyeballed of course, and then once you release your mouse, it's going to let you set a height for the box. After any of these objects is created, you can go to the Modify tab to specify a size. So here if we select these, we can type specific dimensions. If we select the Move tool again and right-click it, that will open the Transform Type-In window, where you can see where the object currently is in space. In the case of the box, it's at 19 feet on the x-axis and 9 foot 11 on the y. So we can mess with these values here, or we can move the object to the origin point by right-clicking these little arrows here, which are called spinners. So if you notice here, I right-click those values and they turn to 0. And I can do the same for the other objects. One of the other parameters you have is the segments. So for the box, you can specify length, width, and height segments. The sphere just has a single segments value. And the cylinder has both height and cap segments. Right, so next we'll cover importing AutoCAD files. So in order to do that, we'll go to the main menu at the top left, select Import, and here we have a CAD file that's been previously selected, so we're going to select that and hit Open. The more important things to look at here under the Geometry tab is under Model Scale, it'll tell you what units the incoming file is. So here's where you would want to pay attention to see if you have a unit mismatch between the incoming CAD file and your system units, which we set to inches previously. So because here it says that the incoming units are in inches, we don't need to use the rescale feature. In the next section down, we have Derive AutoCAD Primitives By. And the default here is by layer or split by material. You want to use this feature if you took the time to specify layers in AutoCAD or sort your objects in AutoCAD based on layer. In that case, they would be imported separated by layer. If your AutoCAD model is simple and you modeled everything in a single layer, then you may want to import it based on entity so that you would have unique objects based on entity. Right, so next we want to look at curve steps. This curve steps value will make any arcs smoother. So 10 is okay, you can go to 12. The next option down is maximum surface deviation for 3D solids. This would basically make cylinders that you modeled in AutoCAD be represented smooth in 3D Max. So it controls how faceted they are, how many segments make up the sides of the cylinder. So this I usually keep at 0.1 inch, and then we hit OK. And because we use the entity option, all these pieces are separate objects.
And I will be able to attach the material in our next tutorial. So you guys learn how to modify, how to move. You know how to move and how to bring it from AutoCAD. So thank you very much, and please watch the following videos.